Have you ever thought about the speed with which trouble can happen and how a simple gesture can make all the difference? This is a breakfast joint and a warm home in which the family is taking advantage of your day, not knowing that in a matter of seconds, you can change it. Sometimes, one of the most heroic ships of whom we least expect it, in a four-legged friend, even in the absence of words, can you sense what is to come and act instinctively to protect those he loves? Have you ever gone through this? Ever watched a scene in which an animal is, apparently, a common, shows a courage that surprise even the most skeptical? Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised. These are stories of courage and love as much more than just an action to protection. They show you how to instinct, intelligence, and sensitivity of our canine friends can help save lives. In this case, it's a dog, who seemed to be just another part of the house, has turned into a real disaster. And what's amazing is that it all happened in an instant, almost as if he had a sense that humans often fail to deliver. You will learn about the history of a dangerous, which it almost became in a moment of joy in a time of tragedy, but it was stopped by for a quick response and the gut of a dog. What makes this story all the more exciting is, the connection is set up between the dog and the baby. It is a connection that goes beyond a simple get-together. In the course of the story, you will see how to care, sensitivity, and even the instinct of an animal can make all the difference at a critical moment, and saved human lives in a way that only the integrity and the courage of a dog that may explain it. Get ready to feel the emotions, reflect on, and understand that a lot of times, the love, the protection, comes from where you least imagine. And who knows, but this story is not for thee to inspire you to further enhance the intelligence and the courage of our faithful companions for life. Right now, we're going to dive into the part which reveals the pivotal moment, one that has so marked the history of this family forever. If this topic makes no sense to you, leave it here in the comments on what you played, or any experience that has made you reflect on the importance of valuing those of you who have been with us every day, even in silence. Your being here is what makes this channel grow, and to reach more people with this kind of content, creating a community where we can share emotions and the lessons and stories that inspire us. Enjoy Video It is also a way of showing that you are connected with this message, helping to spread that feeling of appreciation and gratitude. And of course, if you subscribe to the channel to continue to receive the content which are subject to the heart, which can make us think, and that enhance the beauty of our relationship with the most sincere. Every comment, every like, and every subscription that will strengthen the network of fellow feeling, making it possible to carry this message forward, touching lives and making small actions into huge changes. So, keep watching, because it's still going to be more exciting and full of know-how that can make all the difference in her own journey. Here, every story matters, and every human heart that opens to make this space even more special. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we begin to make sense of the behind the scenes of our own making. Many of the times we believe that we are in control, and that it is all a question of willpower or the desire to be enough. But the truth is hidden behind a lot of the changes are in our mind, in that invisible world that will wrap each and every step that we take, be it in career, in relationships, or in the pursuit of balancing the emotional and the impact of our beliefs, values, and perceptions. It is much bigger than we can imagine. This impact, in turn, is directly related to the decisions that we make, many of which are automatic, which is rooted in the history of life. Over the course of the journey, I've found that the secret is not just to make more informed choices, but to understand why they make those choices. How many times have you been caught up by repeating a pattern it is really trying to change? This is because, deep down, there's a story that hasn't yet been fully revealed. A story about fear, insecurity, or even on top of a hope, unaware that anything is going to change. You don't have to move a piece that's really important. In these stories, which are often hidden beneath the layers of the routine, a routine that they seem normal, but they are, in fact, is a kind of shield to prevent and confront the truths more profound. When we begin to explore these hidden truths, it all becomes clear. Every decision starts to make sense within a larger context, and what appeared to be a simple error or failure becomes an opportunity for self-discovery. It's as if, rather than automatically react to the circumstances, we begin to question our own motives. And then, this reflection, we have found that many of the limitations of what we used to think outside the truth is in us, being the fruit of a mindset that needs to be worked on and adjusted, changed. On the other hand, it also brings with it a huge responsibility, because we know that the power of change is in our hands. It's not a question of luck, or is someone coming to save us, but taking control of our own stories and create a new narrative, one based on self-reliance, courage, and above all, an understanding of the impact of the choices we make. It echoes far beyond the present. Every decision we make is like a seed planted in the soil of our future, and the seed can be any doubt, or hope, or fear, or courage. And the choice of which one of those seeds we're going to take care depends upon our way of thinking, and of our willingness to look beyond the obvious. And that's exactly where it gets more interesting. When you realize that our transformation is on the mind, we can begin to see how small adjustments can have an effect amazing. A change of perspective, a conscious decision to give up a belief in limited, it is enough to open the doors which before seemed to be closed. And in the process, we become more aware of our emotions, our thoughts, and our own reactions, not realizing that the real power lies in the ability to master these elements built into it. Thus, rather than being mere spectators of our own stories, we are the authors of a story that is more authentic, more in tune with who we really are and who we wish to become. The impact of this new mentality is so pervasive that it is starting to show up, even in the way we perceive the world around us. For each achievement, each step forward, we feel a sense of freedom once seemed out of reach. And at the same time, this is the freedom it brings an even greater responsibility to keep up on our progress. Don't sleep in the face of obstacles, always looking for a better version of ourselves. After all, it is the journey of self-discovery is ongoing, and each chapter reveals a new layer of potential that has been hidden under a layer of fear or doubt. And it is at this point that we realize that the true impact of our transformation is the change of the surface on the outward appearance, but the depth of what's going on inside of us. When we align our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions everything around us begin to fit it all in a way that is different, more harmonious. And it is this harmony, in this connection, the interior is what really makes all the difference in your way of life. Because at the end of the day, what really matters is not just to get there, but the people we have become during this time. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the connection between our minds and the impact it can have on the world is something that is rarely realized. Each and every one of us has an invisible force, a power that influences not only our choices but also the lives around us. When we begin to understand this, we realize that our actions have a ripple effect, which is capable of creating true transformation in your company, in your community, or in the family. And this awareness leads us to think about the power we have to impact positively, to be an agent of change, even if in silence. For this reason, the journey to discovery is not only to conquer personal goals, but also on our understanding of the role they play in the web of connections in which we are involved in. When we change our mindset, we change not only ourselves, but also to the environment in which we live. And therefore, the impact of the built-in transform is multiplied, creating a wave from the possibilities that you might not imagine. It is as if with each step taken in the direction of the self-awareness to be like a seed planted in a field, which, over time, flowers in the garden, revealing the true power that lies within each and every one of us. And at this point, it is clear that our way is so much more than a pursuit of success or happiness in the moment. It is a quest for authenticity, for a connection that is true to our purpose, and for a more in-depth understanding of what's really important in life. After all, when we align our actions with our values, the most important, everything takes on a new meaning, and the impact that we can make, it makes it even more powerful. It is this transformation that allows us to not only our dreams, but to also inspire others to do the same, thus creating a network of changes that are going above and beyond what we could ever imagine. Then, every reflection, every decision consciously, we've been building on a legacy that touches on the very essence of who we are. And this is a journey full of revelations and discoveries. This is the one that really has made all the difference in your way of life. Because at the end, the greatest impact we can have is the one that begins in the US and spread to the world with an irresistible force. And then, when we understand that we are the protagonists of this story, we find that the power to change everything around us is, above all, in our desire to grow and develop and to never stop believing in our ability to make a difference. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the real transformation is in the way that we view our role in the journey. Too often, we get stuck on the idea that external changes, such as winning a new job, lose weight, or achieve a dream far, far away, the end. But it is the truth that is hidden, that only a few have the courage to admit to you. That is what this is all just a reflection of a change in its internal structure, a change of mentality in the way we relate to our own limitations, in the way that we look at the obstacles that appear along the way. When we begin to understand that our everyday decisions are the building blocks of our past, it changes everything. For each choice, as small as it may seem, it has a direct impact on the quality of our evolution. This impact, in turn, influences the rest of the world, all around us, in a way that a lot of times we are not able to understand right away. It's like a chain of effects, which usually starts in our mind, in our arrangement, the courage to face up to the truth it hides. Who are the main agents of change in our own lives? The more you eat of this awareness, the more powerful it becomes in our ability to act in a way that is authentic, and to make choices that are aligned with who we truly are and who we want to become. In this journey of transformation, we have found several of the scenes, the invisible, which is often overlooked. These are the details that, if observed closely, they reveal the true motivations behind our actions. It can be either a fear of the old, which is still in the stall, and a belief in limited, which has been impressed upon me since childhood, or even a comfort zone, which, as appealing as it may seem, now we stuck in the routine. And this is where it comes to the importance of an open-minded, seeking not only to understand those behind the scenes, but also to challenge them. Because deep down the whole process of the change, the courage to face your shadow self, the recognition of areas in need of care, and, in particular, to decide on which our development is first priority. It is as if we were embarking on a real journey of self-discovery, in which each congregation bring a new layer of understanding about who we are, in fact. And this revelation is not a matter of speed, but the depth of it. The more you go, the more you realize that what appeared to be an insurmountable obstacle may be an opportunity in disguise, and a lesson in that leads us to grow stronger. Because, at the end of the day, for the transformation of the most powerful does not come from changes in foreign, but also a shift in our perspective. When we align our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions everything around us becomes one to reflect that the new version of ourselves. Still, it's the journey that makes it all alone, and it is precisely here that the behind-the-scenes revealing their true importance. With the support of the people who shared the same mind, having the mentors that challenge our limiting beliefs, the stories of triumph, which inspires us to move on, all of this creates an invisible network that builds on the journey. And at the same time, it connects us to the universal truth that real change is made to the step-by-step, from the conscious decisions of a provision of learning and reinventing itself. Suddenly, everything seemed to be difficult, or far away it begins to make sense, in a way that is clearer and lighter in weight. Because when you understand it, the transformation begins within ourselves. We realize that each day is a new opportunity to rewrite our story, challenge the limit, and embrace the things that make us grow. And, in the process, our way of thinking, if it makes the engine more powerful, capable of transforming any setting, with any obstacles, in a phase of learning and development. After all, it is the most lasting impact has to come from inside you, and this is where the real magic happens, sometimes in silence, but with a force that reverberates through the entire journey. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the truth which is hidden by the back of all this change, is just in the way that you see it with your own boundaries." A lot of people believe that the obstacles are the obstacles to truth, when, in fact, are the doors in disguise of opportunities, is waiting for a brave decision. This change of perspective requires a disruption to the mindset of the old, one that grips you the fear, the doubt, or confusion. When you begin to understand that everything that seems difficult or impossible, it is, in fact, a matter of interpretation. And it all starts with the turn of way, almost magical. It's as if a light to ignite inside of you and reveal to him the true essence of the power you have within you, the one who's always been there, just waiting for the right time to be turned on. And it is this activation that occurs when you realize that your choices have a direct impact on your life's journey. For each choice, as small as it may seem, it is a critical piece in the puzzle of their story. It's not a coincidence that many of the times, the decision is simple. As you get out of bed with a positive intention, or choose to speak words of encouragement to themselves, they can set off a chain of events that will change everything. Such little actions, which seem to be insignificant in everyday life, they are the seeds of change. They feed on the growth mindset, strengthen their confidence, and expanding his vision of the possibilities. And to the extent that you start to reap the rewards of those choices in mind, one thing is clear. The real impact happens when you take the responsibility for their own direction, rather than wait for the circumstances to change, per se. For this reason, it is crucial to understand that his mind is not merely a matter of thinking in a positive or a simple change of mood. It's a real internal architecture is a system of beliefs that shapes every decision, every reaction, every emotion and feeling. When you start to question your own beliefs or both, and to replace those old stories to the narrative of empowerment and the world, expanding in a way that neither of you have ever imagined to be possible. This is a journey of self-discovery to reveal a powerful truth. The transformation does not depend on external factors, but rather is of a lineup of deep between what you think, feel, and do. And in the process, the mind becomes an ally, a partner who leads you behind the scenes of their own progress, too often in silence, but with an impact that reverberates with your reality. When you understand this, you will begin to realize that the revelations of the most important is inside of you. What are the answers you are seeking are in their own story, their knowledge in their decision-making, more honest. In this connection, the essence is the one that really promotes lasting change that goes well beyond the solutions are time-sensitive or action areas. It is a transformation of the fund. It is about having the courage to face the fears and the provision of open space for the new one, even if it means to get out of your comfort zone. And, in it, their mindset, it becomes a tool of the impact. It is able to create a new reality, which is based on the truth of who you really are and the power that it has to reinvent itself every day. Now, I want to invite you to think about it a little bit more about it. Think about the times in which you feel stuck, trapped by a question or a belief in limitation. Is that this situation did come out or have been created by you from a story within you that has been nurtured over a long time? And what if, from now on, you begin to question those stories and to challenge these thoughts and to build a new mindset more in line with your dreams and intentions? These questions are the beginning of a journey of discovery deep, where each step is taken with the intention of makes them an opportunity for true transformation. In the end, the change is not a one-off event, but an ongoing process of discovery and reprogramming the internal. It is about having the courage to face up to the truth that is hidden by the back of our own limitations. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the truth. It hides many of the times. It is hidden in between the lines of our own making. It is as if, for the rest of our lives, we were carrying a sort of mask in the invisible, made up of the beliefs, fears, and expectations that have been imposed upon, or that we from time to time. In these layers, even though it seems so obvious, it often prevents us from seeing who we really are and what our true potential." The transformation is, in a sense, it goes through a journey of self-discovery, which is about having the courage to question all the things that we accepted as the absolute truth, even in what seems to be the simplest, most obvious thing. When we begin to unravel the layers, we realize that many of our limitations are the result of a lack of talent or an external condition, but an internal narrative that has been built up over the course of the year. In this narrative, one that is many, many times, it's powered by the experiences of the past, by the opinions of others, or even by a deep-seated fear of change. It is at this point that it all becomes a game of choices. You can continue to nurture those types of stories that imprison, or you can opt for the application to the internal revolution in the way we think, feel, and act. And then comes the concept of an impact. Every decision we make, no matter how simple it may seem, the echo in our journey of transformation. Every thought that we cultivate, every emotion in that it allowed us to master, has a direct influence on our ability to continue to evolve. The truth is concealed. This is that many times we are so caught in our own limitations that we do not realize how much they were created by a species of self-deception. That's the big reveal. Our mind has a key role in this process, as it can be, both to reinforce the ceiling to help us overcome them. For this reason, it is necessary to develop a growth mindset, an approach that allows us to see beyond what is on the surface. This requires the provision of, to learn, to be open to new perspectives, and to accept that making mistakes is a part of the path. This idea of transformation, it is like a key that unlocks the door to the possibilities before would have seemed impossible. When we are able to see beyond our own limitations, we begin to see the impact we can have on our lives, and that of others. It is a lot larger than we might have previously thought. Behind all this journey is also one of the scenes, which often goes under the radar, the internal resistance. This resistance comes from a fear of abandoning the old ways, to the insecurity of losing control, or even the fear to face up to the truths they'd rather ignore. It is as if, unconsciously, to create a safety mechanism that prevents us from moving forward, keeping us stuck in a comfort zone, which, in fact, it's a prison. It is invisible. Recognizing that it is essential, because only in this way can we begin to dismantle these barriers, internal, and let that real change happens from the inside to the outside. To make this work, self-awareness and rearranging, we have begun to realize that the truth is hidden. It is not something external, but rather a reflection of what we carry in-house. The more you go deeper into the understanding of our own beliefs and emotions, the more we were able to transform these constraints into sources of strength. In the process, we learn to make choices that are more conscious of, to create a new narrative for our lives, a story that is based on authenticity, courage, and hope. So, as long as this transformation occurs, the feeling of freedom begins to take shape. It's like all of a sudden, we see life with new eyes, with an idea that once seemed unattainable. Every step on this path, it's a confirmation that we are in control of our story, which we can rewrite our own chapters to it with courage and determination. This is a journey of discovery and renewal, never ending, but with each step forward, a new layer of truth to it has been revealed and opened the door to endless possibilities. In the background, it all comes down to one decision: to go on living in the shadow of the limitations, or make a commitment to explore the true essence of what exists in all of us. This is a decision that many times it seems so simple, is the starting point for transformation, is able to have an impact in all aspects of our lives. After all, it is the change arises from within, out of a heart silently to face your own truth, and to move forward even when the path seems like a challenging too. And, at the heart of it all, you are assured that each step taken in the direction of the authenticity of a win against the lies that are in the trap, with a statement that we can make it, yes, to build a life based on truth more in depth. He comments that it makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, as it is the very essence of that courage. Quiet, you often come across the greatest transformation of them all. It's not something that happens overnight, nor is a change in the surface which you can hide behind a mask. It is a process, delicate, almost like a dance between what we are and who we want to be, a journey to the inner, where every decision, however small it may seem, it bears a heavy burden in the construction of this new story. And it is this narrative, in turn, has the power to impact everything around us, like a seed, that is, to germinate, makes the soil more fertile and alive. When you immerse yourself in a universe of self-discovery, we realized that a lot of the limitations that were, in fact, built up by layers of beliefs that we have absorbed over time, many of which are imposed by the external external reviews for expectations in a social, or even by experience which, at the time, it seemed to be permanent. This is a revelation, as simple as it may seem. It is an important step for those who want to get rid of the burden of a lie that you'll carry for years to come. When you begin to question those beliefs, to challenge them, it was clear that they were often created by the need to fit them in, for the approval of belonging, something that is natural as we search for our identity. But at the same time, this can lead to a breaking point when we realize that what we have been taught is not the truth, pure, or one's own truth. On the basis of this observation, a kind of reconstruction of the interior. It's as if every experience, every decision you make, until then, it was a piece of a jigsaw puzzle which, over time, came together in a way to hide who you really are. And this reconstruction is about having the courage to look for the one that he was buried, was to confront the emotions that sometimes we'd rather leave hidden. But it is in this conflict that we can find the greatest signs, the details of which show that, in fact, it drives us, what makes us feel alive, even in the face of adversity. It is such a process, such as emotional, in which each layer reveals a part of the most genuine, in itself, a part of you that might have fallen asleep out of fear or self-doubt. And the beauty of it all is, and aside from the looks, we started to realize that true freedom lies in the acceptance of who we truly are, with all our imperfections and vulnerabilities. The latter is the one that gives us the strength to make choices that are aligned with the core, without the need to appeal to everybody, or to fit in the mold of pre-established. When we let go of the lies that are entrapped, we have a direct impact on the way we see the world, not only in our relationships with people and our ability to turn obstacles into opportunities. Every little decision-making act with authenticity, it is the seed of a more radical change, a change that reverberates through the entire journey. And it is precisely at this point that it's the greatest revelation. It often happens. You realize that true strength comes from within, from a decision-making every day to be true to the very core, even when everything around you would seem to indicate otherwise. With each step taken in this direction is a statement that is quiet, that you're willing to break away from the lies, to make it a reality, that really resonate with our deepest truths. On this day, many times that it is invisible to the eye outside, it is the one that really makes all the difference in our story, because it takes you to find out the impact we can make when we connect to our hospitality. And in so doing, we can begin to understand that the biggest key to a fulfilling life is the courage to face up to the truth itself, without any fear of getting lost or being judged, because deep down, that this is the only way you can truly find ourselves and transform the world around us. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the truth. Hides behind all this is a journey of self-discovery, is often related to an aspect of you that just want to look in front of you, the fear of being ourselves. It is as if, in the course of time, we have been trained to do and hide parts of ourselves, as if our lives were to be in disguise, or is controlled by a social mask. This mask is, in fact, it turns out, creating a sense of security in the moment, but it also takes us away from more and more of our true selves. Our essence is pure, that which touches our deepest truth. When we start to break that mask, he realized that it was built on external influences, by the expectations of others, to be a system that too often values conformity over the authenticity. So, the question arises, to what extent are we willing to give up that security, seeming to really set us free? The answer, often, is linked to the impact that such a decision would have on our lives, our reputation, and our acceptance of the social order. But at the same time, it is at this point that we begin to understand that true transformation happens when we are faced with the fear of being judged, of being ostracized for being who we truly are. In the process of self-discovery, we are also faced with the stunning revelations that many of the times, they were hidden beneath layers of fear, self-doubt, and even of a certain amount of resistance is felt. These findings act as a mirror, reflecting not only our own vulnerabilities, but also to our own forces that are hidden. And this is where it all starts to make sense. The more we allow ourselves to see the truth within us, the more powerful it becomes in our ability to have an impact not only your own life, but also in the lives of those around us. Because, at the core, this is a journey of transformation. It is a real revolution in the inside, for a walk, which, while challenging us to a state of greater connection with the purpose, as we explore these behind the scenes in our own minds and emotions, we realize that the decision to go down this path, it is a real statement for courage. It's not something that happens at one time or another, but it is a daily choice, a reassurance that, even in the face of all obstacles, you can choose to be true to who we are, in fact. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand what the impact of that decision-making is much more than we do ourselves. Every step in the direction of the echo in our relationship with the world, and influence our actions, our words, even our decisions in the most simple of everyday life. Still, it's a journey of self-discovery that is never straightforward. There are moments of doubt. It is the reverse of the question's in-depth look at the pull in the back. But, at the same time, these moments serve as an opportunity for reflection, reevaluation, and, in particular, to strengthen our resolve. It is as if the challenge was a good opportunity to reaffirm our lives, to reaffirm our courage to look within and embrace everything that we find in there, the more uncomfortable it will be. Because deep down, that this is the only way to truly transform your reality, create the life that is aligned with our values as a more sincere. And so, over the course of the journey, we begin to realize that the truth is not something to be afraid of or to hide. It is, in truth, our most important ally in the construction of a life more full, more real, and more powerful. With each revelation, each and every decision to be who you are, in fact, and even closer to our essence, authentic. And this is where we find real freedom. The freedom that comes from within and is not dependent on external circumstances, but one that is growing each and every moment of courage, authenticity, and of the truth itself. And in doing so, we become examples of quiet that true transformation begins with the courage to face up to its own history, no matter how difficult or unclear to what she would look like. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the true freedom, one that is truly transform our lives, and it's not something you find outside of the US, but it's something that we grow into ourselves, and it's this journey of self-discovery, connecting with your own soul. It is filled with the revelation that a lot of times we would prefer to ignore. They are hidden truths to be discovered. You can challenge us with the changing concepts of deep-rooted limiting beliefs, and even our own view of the world. It's as if, when you immerse yourself in this quest, we begin to see beyond the surface, beyond what has been taught or imposed by the external environment, and you have to realize the power that lies within each and every one of us to shape your history. The real evil is born, often with a conscious decision to look within, to confront fears, to accept that it is our emotions, and our questions are part of the process. This acceptance is the first step in any transformation, since it allows us to release the weight of the mask that we have for so long a time that you try to hide our weaknesses, our faults, and vulnerabilities. When we are able to take over who we truly are, without masks or lies that are comfortable, we begin to understand the impact of the authenticity of the echo, not only in the US, but also those around us. And all of a sudden, what seemed to be a struggle, isolation turns into a journey of a genuine connection with people, with nature, and with the world. In this connection, in the background, this is one of the major revelations of the authenticity of the globe. When we allow ourselves to be real, and without the fear of judgment, we inspire others to break free from your own prison built in. It is a chain of processing that arises from a decision of the individual, but it is spread by the collective in an astonishing way. And then comes the question of the impact of each step that we take in the direction of the truth. We create a kind of ripple effect that can transform the environment, the community. The structures are more robust and is apparently unchanged. After all, it is a genuine change always begins from the inside to the outside. On the other hand, the journey is not linear or easy. Many of the times, we are faced with the doubts and insecurities that seem to be greater than the courage of which we have at the moment. That's what's important to understand, that the behind the scenes of the transformation are often hiding in small everyday decisions. The choice to resist the temptations of a life of ease, but on the surface, and opt for something more real, more in line with who you really are. With these choices, however small they may seem, they have a huge impact on our evolution, because they are what are going to consolidate our brand new mindset, our new way of thinking about life. And when you think about all of this, we see that the truth is hidden behind a lot of the limitations that it is in our own power to choose and act for a change. The decision of whether or not to release, to let go of old patterns, and embrace vulnerability as a source of power. This is a great eye-opener, that true freedom is not something that is achieved at one time or another, but it's something that builds up day after day with a spirit of courage, persistence, and a willingness of a sincere change. Every step in the direction of the authenticity of a seed planted in the soil of our own evolution, and that over time, it blossoms into a life more full, more real, more powerful. And it is this journey of self-discovery that leads us to understand that, even in the face of adversity, we can find the strength to carry on. Because after all, the freedom that we seek has always been within us, hidden under layers of fear, doubts, and the expectations of external stakeholders. And when you unfold the layers and reveal to you a quiet strength that drives us to live a more self-aware, more in tune with our values, and above all, loyal to our own truth. This is the heart of the transformation that is not dependent on external circumstances, but it is born out of an internal decision that you've made. It changes everything. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation, is not something that happens by chance or due to the influence of external factors. She comes from a conscious choice, a choice that we make every day, often without realizing it, to take control of your own narrative. When we begin to understand that our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions are tangled in a web unseen impact, it all begins to make new friends. This understanding leads us to wonder to what extent we are actually in control of our own lives, or if we are just responding to the waves of everyday life, to the opinions of others, the pressure of the atmosphere. The journey to authenticity and having the courage to look inward, to face up to the truths that a lot of times we would prefer to conceal or minimize it. It is at this time that the helmet that you have built up over time, it begins to fall off, revealing who you really are beyond the expectations imposed upon it by the world. And surprisingly enough, to uncover the layers, we find a power that has never been such a gift. That quiet strength that, when recognized, it gives us time to understand deeply about us and our motivations are genuine. This is how to find a map inside that was always there, just waiting to be read, waiting for us to decide to embark on this path of self-discovery and growth. But the journey is not linear. It involves errors, doubts, and moments of hesitation. It is in these moments that our way of thinking is really put to the test. After all, every significant change is that it requires application of what we believe to be possible. It is for this reason that too often we get stuck in the old standard, which seem to be safe, but in fact, limited to our full potential. The truth hides behind all these is the freedom to be who you really are is beyond the power of those limiting beliefs. It is the courage to question, to challenge the status quo, and to make choices that initially seem to be uncomfortable with, but which, in the long run, lead to a feeling of alignment and inner peace. As you explore such scenes, we realize that many of our daily decisions are shaped by the stories we tell about ourselves, often in an unconscious manner. These stories are filters that distort our vision and prevent us from seeing the possibilities beyond what we already know. When we begin to break down those reports, the new freedom comes. The freedom to create a story of their own is based on the truth of who we are and what we truly want to achieve. It requires a certain courage and a willingness to face the fear of the unknown, because many of the times it's in the unseen where we have the potential for more powerful processing. And in the process, the journey becomes as a practice of self-discovery. Every decision you make, every step taken in the direction of our essence, it is a piece that fits in the construction of a life that is more authentic and fulfilling. It is in this movement that we are beginning to see the impact of our decisions on the world around us, such as in a sort of domino effect that spreads through our relationships, in our careers, for our dreams as the most serious. The truth is, when you discover out these behind the scenes to internal, we have gained a better understanding of what's really important, what makes us vibrate, and it makes us feel that we are living up to our purpose. However, this revelation is not something that just happens 1 hour to the next. This is a building on the daily, made up of little deeds, in moments of reflection, and a lot of honesty with yourself. And in the course of this journey, so many are faced with resistance. The voice that insists on the need to maintain business as usual, even if that stability is, in fact, it is a prison in disguise. It is for this reason that, for the transformation of the most powerful happens when we mute the voice, and to listen to the one that drives us, that challenges us to go above and beyond what we imagine to be possible. When that inner voice that is listened to with attention, it turns out that all the effort is worth it. Every step on the way to the authenticity of a seed is planted, a collection of achievements, real and long-lasting. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the impact of this discovery is much more than changes at the surface. This is a real revolution in the internal transformation that redefines our relationship with ourselves and with the world. It's like a revelation. From behind the mask and the stories we tell, there is an essence of pure, powerful, and ready to bloom when to give you space. It is at this point that we realize that it is the freedom to be who we are, in fact, is the greatest gift we can give ourselves, is the one freedom that comes from a conscious choice to live with integrity and in alignment. And at this point, everything connects. In our choices, in our mind, in our journey of self-discovery. Each element contributes to a new understanding of who we are and the impact we can make to live a more genuine. And in doing so, we begin to see that the changes are internal and which directly reflect our outer reality by creating a powerful synergy that transforms not only our history, but also to the way we affect the world around us. This is the very essence of the one significant change. It's not just about the changes in time sensitive, but rather an ongoing process of evolution that will lead you to a life more in tune with our inner selves, more deeply and accurately. If you've come this far, it's because I have connected with on this journey of self-discovery and transformation. And this is an important step to keep evolving. If you feel that this content has brought a lot of insight, or did you think about it in any way, leave your like, because it helps to improve this trade-off is what we are building here. The connection that we created in the course of the video, which is what makes it all make sense to you, and your support will make a world of difference, so that I can continue bringing you the topics that really add up in your life. If you still haven't subscribed to the channel, took the opportunity to do so now. Here the focus is on delivering value to you, share ideas that might help you to see the world in a much lighter and more aware of it. This channel is a place where we could grow up together, always looking for a more authentic and aligned with who you really are. And if you would like to leave a comment, feel free. I want to know what is in this content. I have you, and how it connects with the story. You can use it in a sentence such as, I'm with you till the end, or it was me. The important thing is that you can feel free to share your experience, because it enriches all of our trade. To continue continue on this journey, there's a video right here on the side that complements what we talk about today. Click there and still am there, because there is so much cool one is waiting for you. Thank you for being here until the end and to be a part of this community who are always searching for a better understanding and growth. Until the next video.